You guys ready to do this?
I'm ready.
All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Kael and you are currently listening/watching the Mind Clash podcast in whichever format you're taking it in. This is episode number 95. We are damn near 100. It's getting crazy. It's getting a little wild in here. But today we're going to be talking a little bit about the Alliance tournaments, and I do want to make one quick reminder that although I may look like this mysterious doppelganger that Dirk McGurk found over the weekend in a bandage dress that he chubbed out over a little bit, that is not me. I am curious though as to how hot was she. But nonetheless, I am Cal Decadence, and I am joined here today by one of our lovely producers, Claevyan.
Hello there, this is Claevyan. Currently flying with Test Alliance, please ignore.
Will do. Just a quick reminder, Merdud is not here. At the end of the show last week, if you were here, we found out that Mrs. Merdud had the baby, so there is a baby Merdud running loose, currently 1 week old, so congratulations to Merdud and fam on that. Let's see, and then, let's go from, I'll just go from my left. We're looking at Creecher. Creecher, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Cannot complain.
And we have a brand new guest. I'm surprised that we have not had Elise Randolph here yet, but welcome, Elise.
Woohoo! Thanks for having me. I'm Elise Randolph. I'm Alliance Tournament commentators this year. I can't wait to kind of enjoy some spaceships exploding together with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't believe, as whenever I'm going through guests and I'm trying to figure out who I'm going to have on for the next week's show, it always surprises me, like, who I haven't had on. I don't know why on Heaven's Earth we have not had you join us before.
I have no idea. Hold on, my mic is not great, so I'm gonna try and jiggle these cables, and we'll get better, guys.
Don't jiggle too much. And then Rahne will be joining us shortly. She's in the middle of a fleet, but before we get into the questions that I know Dinkle has, I'm going to turn you guys up because they're saying that Creecher and Elise, you guys are low, so I'm going to turn you up on my end.
I don't have the best mic, so that's probably partly to do with it.
Shit happens. Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about some EVE Online/CCP news. If you guys have been paying attention at all to what's been happening this past week in UALX-3, we've been having a lot of action going on there, a lot of fights. We've been reaching numbers well within the 3,000 to 4,000 range in game. So we're talking about super capitals, subcaps, lots of fighters, lots of tie-dye, lots of disconnects. Even there was a node death. So I want to say that was on Thursday. The node that was reinforcing UALX-3 did die, but they quickly remapped it onto other systems and had that up and running as quick as they could. However, there was some issues regarding, I don't know, maybe some more nefarious members of the community who decided they wanted to do some treble tickets and use the stuck ship scenario, saying that their ship was stuck, they couldn't move it, and they needed a GM to move them. So there was an Erebus, which is a Titan, and then I want to say it was a Revenant? No, it was a Dreadnought. Does anybody know which kind it was?
I have no idea. I think it was from Sino U, though, Doom Chichilla's Corp.
Yeah. So our good...
Revelation that got moved?
Yeah, so they got those two ships. They did use the move help with the GM, but the Erebus was moved back into the system because they realized, hey, you guys are doing some crazy things. But the Dreadnought, they didn't want to move it because it was moved into a corp hangar and then occupied by a second player, so they felt it would be unfair to him. But there is a nice little dev blog that CCP Falcon put out on the official EVE dev blog method, and then there's also a pretty lengthy Reddit post. He decided he needed to clarify some things and suss out some other things. I guess there was another issue where there was a emergency, when the server goes into downtime, there's like your ship just warps off into a random direction. I don't know, there's some sort of possible exploit. They haven't really confirmed whether or not there's an exploit, but it seems that some members are talking about using that to warp into a specific location. I'm not sure how that works out, but CCP Falcon has addressed that in Reddit to make sure that nothing nefarious happens.
Yeah, I actually thought it was just a joke that the ship was moved, because I remember I was like on my Twitter timeline, I saw Doom Chinchilla tweeted like, "Oh, we got it. Some things moved back." And then I saw CCP Falcon saying, "Hey, I actually went to the customer service department to make sure that nothing bad happened. Nice try, fool." But apparently, some dudes did actually get moved. I'm glad they moved them back. It's
Yeah.
People trying to get out of that situation just by using the movie thing.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, like the one that he was posting about was one that had jumped out like mid-fight or something and didn't jump back in. But at least that was my opinion.
Yeah, but it seems like it got fixed and all is well. Some other things that I did today in preparation for the show, just out of curiosity, I went to now.eveonline.com, which is a website that they had introduced a year or so back, but it looks like nothing's been updated since last year, so rip to that. Also, I checked out the hoboleaks.space website, and I found some interesting items. I don't know if you guys can see those. Creecher, I need to share those notes with you because I don't think you got them, but there are some interesting items that have appeared on there, and I don't really know a whole lot about what some of those things might mean. Anybody care to kind of decipher some of that?
Oh, sorry, I was just jiggling my mic to see if it fixes. Yeah, I mean, from the stuff I saw, there are only a few things in there that were like kind of like new event type ships, new NPE type ships, to maybe make the new player experiences a little bit different. Nothing too huge that I saw. Maybe I just went over it too fast.
Yeah, so what we're looking at is a Caldari penalty dungeon, which is a large collidable structure. I'm not too certain exactly what that is, if that's part of maybe a faction warfare site. I'm not sure. Hopefully we find out a little bit more about what that is soon. But the new ships you were talking about, we're looking at an NPE additional weak frigate, and there was some other NPE additional battle cruiser, additional this, additional that, and they're under the category of tutorial seekers. Not too sure. That might be part of maybe a revamping of the new player experience, probably. And then we also have a bunch of new boosters that don't have names. There's a bunch of filament crates, so I'm guessing the next agency event is going to be having us winning or trying to earn some filament crates. And then there's 2 surfaces for an Amar base. I'm not sure what that means. Any thoughts on that?
Is this the long hoped for skins for outposts?
I don't know, maybe because it was just Amar.
They're the coolest ones. Maybe they're gonna just kind of redo some of the new citadels.
Yeah, it says the type and name is an A surface 1-F-01 Amar base Amar, and it's under the group system, #system. There's 2 of those with similar names for that, so I'm not really sure what that means. Could mean a lot of things.
I was talking to, I don't remember who it was, but we were talking that ever since they changed the stations to being citadels, I really do miss the way the old ones looked. They all looked super different. They were very unique. There was that Galente one that just went straight up in the air. The Amar one that looked like a shuttle and was pretty ridiculous. The Minotaur one, which was just a trashy. I super miss the way those things look. So I hope that some of these new surfaces or whatever are kind of trying to fix that a little bit. Who knows? It's probably just like an NPC type thing. It's probably like an MR dungeon. Got a cool base in it now.
Yeah, I could see it being more the NPC type thing, but it would be cool if they came out with skins that you could purchase for your structures that would change the appearance of the structure to more align with, you know.
I just want all of my citadels to look like Olympic stations. Like, that's all I want in life.
I mean, I've heard that they're looking at doing that, but I mean, like, obviously we haven't seen anything yet. But
I mean, they're massive structures, so I'd imagine it would take a long time.
that's true, yeah. But I mean, like, think of the money that they could make from doing that. You know, it's like,
Yeah, it would be neat. I mean, the biggest one for me is I saw a bunch of boosters on there. We touched that. I like it when there's just a shitload of boosters in the game because I kind of forget what some of them do, but they add a little bit of nuance to some PvP like one-on-one or small gang stuff. There are a lot of fits that I used to fly that would only work when I was using a link ship, which I know everyone hates or hated at the time. But I mean, it let me do some fun stuff. Like I could take a crewer out and tank 4 frigates and then slowly kill one of them and then probably die later. But ever since they changed that, I can't really do that so much. But now adding a whole bunch of new drugs, it feels like I can do a little bit more to kind of mess with the small scale frigate meta at least. And I know the boosters work for big ships as well, obviously. And capitals all have like boosters that they have to take, and now that list is probably gonna be a little bit longer. But I really like the little boosters. I think they're neat.
Depending on what the boosters do, I could see them using that to add to some of the fleet options that we have available, instead of it being like, you know, well, this booster gives you speed and this booster gives you shields. Having one that gives you a combination of benefits or a combination of detriments depending on what your skills are at.
Yeah, that's one of the things I always really liked. The only annoying part I ever found was actually moving the boosters, but it's not that bad anymore, at least.
And real quick, I just want to introduce Dunk Dinkle, everyone. Dunk Dinkle decided he needed to sneak in here and say something.
Come with a voice box, a little sound machine. He always comes with a little trick.
It probably is.
where is it? I'm waiting.
It's asymmetrical warfare.
How's it going, Dunk?
Life is good. Just had dinner, chocolate cake that I made on Sunday. It's all good.
Oh, I love some cake.
So Dunk, you said you had a question for Creecher and a question for Elise.
Well, it's actually for both of them. Can I ask my question now, or is it going to wreck things?
Go for it.
All right. As we all know, the best Titan to have is Leviathan, as has seen in recent battles in which no Leviathans die. So my question is, what is the right implant set to run with Leviathans for Creature and Elise?
I'd say Generations.
Man, is there a dumpster one that I can select? I don't know. +5s? I mean, just put +5s in there. No one's ever gonna shoot you ever. So just might as well get the most of your skill training. And don't waste money on anything else. Just full set of +5s.
Excellent. I know exactly what to do. I need to get my ass to Jita now. Get those +5s.
Pick up your Leviathan while you're there.
I mean, there was a Moloch and 2 Vendettas on field too, I think, that didn't die. So I was actually pretty surprised that no one just went for the Moloch headshot. Because it's such a garbage
it was getting, the Moloch that's Orion's Moloch, and it was getting locked up right when everything went sideways. So who knows?
Interesting.
That's the one I would have shot first.
I think they tried to shoot one of our Komodos, but I mean, it's got like 250 million HP or something like totally insane.
I mean, when there's a Ragnarok there, just shoot the Ragnarok. It's so much easier.
All right. Was that the question?
That was it. That was my very important question, which I have
Wonderful.
to stress again, that no Leviathans died in the battle because they're the best Titan.
That's true. That's true.
I have to agree. Yeah, I love my Leviathan.
They look like garbage driftwood.
They look amazing. They're arguably the best looking thing.
What? No.
Yes.
They're easily the fourth. No, they're easily the fifth best looking Titan.
How could you say the Ragnarok looks better than the
The
Leviathan?
Ragnarok looks cool. It looks like a whole bunch of dudes built like the Super Star Destroyer on their home planet or whatever, and they're just like, let's see if this shit flies. Oh, it does. Oh, it's amazing. The old, so this is going to the way back machine. The old Ragnarok Doomsday effect was super cool. It was just a bunch of like anime style missile effects that would just go across the screen all cool and then explode. It was dope.
Was that the area of effect where the Doomsdays used to just blow everything around
Yeah,
them up? Yeah.
It was super.
Is that when the missiles would fly out and swirl around in a little ball until they blew up?
Yeah, it was just a graphic effect. Like you couldn't they didn't actually do anything effective, but it did look really nice. I'm sure there's some on YouTube where you can just Google like Ragnarok Doomsday. It's like the Galthorn or something. It's a nice land. It's a Norse name that I'm gonna screw up if I try and pronounce. So.
All right. Well, before we get too far derailed, let's just finish up the news real quick, and then we can stroll down that fun memory lane. But yeah, so this weekend there is going to be a little thing that some people like to refer to as the Alliance Tournaments. So if you're not paying attention, you should be paying attention now, because on the 28th, that is Saturday, and the 29th, which of course chronologically would be Sunday, at 1400 Eve time, so that's 7 in the morning Pacific, 9 Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. in Tokyo, and midnight in Sydney, Australia. Just want to make sure everyone had the times down correct. You can be catching the Alliance Tournaments number 16 XVI. And we will go into some of the details later as far as who's going to be fighting and which matches first and all that fun songs. And that will be that. Now, I did mention last week that there was a website called permaband.rocks, which showed a countdown timer to a new permaband song, which turned out to be not so much. So,
the breakout is happening right now in ULX.
Am I missing this? I will not be offended if somebody switches from this stream to go play or watch another stream. Not a big deal, but I will cry a little bit on the inside. Not a big deal. Don't hurt my feels. But yeah, so that permaband.rocks website was something that was created by an ISD. So it is quasi-official, but it was an ISD member, and he was setting that up for future permaband songs. I don't know why he wouldn't have it in like a maintenance mode and have it live like that. So he did say in a forums on the Eve official Eve Online forums that it is a work in progress. So no song coming yet. Sad face. Oh, totally sad face. Alright, so we're going to move into the player news. Remember, the player news is sponsored by the War Deck Project, which is a Discord group. They're an open group focused on the discussion of the War Declaration problem in hopes of collectively proposing a better system and mechanics to the CSM and CCP. I will link that in the chat right meow. Alrighty, that is linked. Alright. What?
Login servers are being really slow right now. I guess there's already tight on.
Well, of course there is.
Yep, just dropped below 50% actually.
Are you guys all up in it right now?
I just logged in on my account.
Oh man, I need to step up my game. It's so hard. I've got all these windows that I'm trying to manage with chats and
790 in local, 800 in local. It's Jesus.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
All
Anyway.
Right. So since there's been all kinds of spurging and shitposting and all kinds of weird stuff happening on r/eve Reddit, the moderators of r/eve are apparently on strike and will not work until the demands are met. Apparently they are being bound together by the one and the only Briscrew Ball. He is the union leader, from what I'm being told, and this is their demands. 1. Better post, not filled with rehashed Facebook garbage. Number 2, at least the same amount of respect that the r/star citizen mods get. 3, weekends off. 4, overtime pay if Doom Chinchilla starts derping again. And 5, a low-sec gate to stain. And then we hope the redditors of the r/Eve subreddit see fit to meet our demands in full before the entire timeline is filled with garbage and your eyes fall out of your heads. So those are some pretty lofty demands. I don't know that they're going to get what they want, but they are certainly going to get what they deserve.
The best joke here is the fact that REVE has moderators.
This is true. So obviously we're talking about UALX-3 right now, and there's been massive fightings going on, server nodes dying, and we're currently in the middle of another battle there. Is this another timer?
I think some people were a little bit mistaken. There was a little bit of worry from the legacy side, I think, that there's going to be a mass breakout. I believe 2 dreadnoughts logged on, and both died. So the 2 dreadnoughts, I guess, quantifies as a
So there's 3 capitals in our bubbles right now. Another one just logged in, but I'm also watching Titans coming from pretty much every direction. So.
Oh, are they really? Oh, man, okay.
Not your Titans, sorry.
Yeah, we're getting a play-by-play from Rahne in the chat. She's saying there's Naglfar down, 1 left on the field, no, not a battle, 2nd Naglfar down, 3 dreads down, LOL, big battle, team, please. Okay, interesting. So then we were talking about that stuck ship bug. So CCP has come out and said, no, they're not going to move your shit. Sorry, get wrecked. If you're stuck in UALX and you want to get out, I don't know, maybe wait a couple weeks before you log in, bud.
Yeah. I was actually slightly surprised when I saw that post first come out to realize that people were trying to use that mechanic to get their ships moved.
I don't think anyone like seriously I read the dev blog and it said that Alliance leaders have told people to do. Like, I don't think that ever happens. But I mean, I guess someone did because people tried. I don't know. It's a dumb mechanic that has never ever worked. So I'd be surprised if anyone was like, "Hey guys, this is how we're getting out. Just petition and get the right GM."
Right, they'll never notice.
I really think it was just like those 1 or 2 people that first did it, got their Titan and their Revelation moved, and then told everybody else. But either way, it spawned some sort of a response from CCP because they had to look through all the logs to make sure it didn't take place, and they had to tell the people that were managing it, don't move Titans out of UALX.
By the way, here's what a Titan is. If you guys are new, like, don't. If it says Erebus, don't move it, please.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around the fact that these people are helping moderate a game that like had just had one of their nodes die, that had the most amount of players in a battle that they've seen in like forever, and then they're like, oh yeah, what's UALX? I don't know. I'll just move the ship out of there. It must be stuck. Like it didn't cross their minds that, oh, this is probably from that big battle.
I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure they they knew full well. Like, I know a lot of people at CCB, even people that were on vacation, were like, "Hey, were you in that fight? It looked like a big deal."
Yeah, I got a message from Chris Tyrell at like 3:30 in the morning on, I don't know, it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. Said, "Hey man, you need to get in fleet," and I'm like, "No, it's 3:30. You weirdo, I'm sleeping." But yeah, so that is going on. That's currently, we're in the middle of that. This is part of the big war that's happening. Some people are calling it World War Re, and other various things. Who knows what this will be called once the winners prevail. But yeah, so tensions are high in EVE Online. Tensions are high on Reddit in the r/Eve forums. So it's going to be interesting. Another thing that's causing a little bit of tension is the ZKill Board, currently ZKill Board, is experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties. Squiz was trying to make some adjustments. That's Squiz Caffeinator. He was trying to make some adjustments to the back end, and something backfired. So, who knows when it's going to be up and running? But he did post about what he was trying to accomplish, what happened. So he's very open about what was going on. So Squiz, keep at it. Get ZKill Board more gooder, because we know that's the number one way in which we determine our worth in EVE Online.
Yeah, I saw that he was doing some maintenance on the server. He's like, I wonder why this page is taking too long. Went to do some few changes, and then all of a sudden the whole thing broke. So, but he said he's rebuilding the whole thing. All the kills are going to be there. They're going from newest to oldest. So
Beautiful.
if you want to find a kill from 2007, you won't be able to in the next few days, but you'll eventually be able to again. Don't worry.
All right. Well, I did want to talk about the Stream Fleet event that happened over the weekend, which was on Saturday. It was hosted by CCP. It was put on. It was a Stream Fleet fight, and I can't remember who actually was hosting it as far as officially, but yeah, it was on the CCP's Twitch stream. It was Stream Fleet Boys versus Girls. It was all official. It was on the TQ server. Or excuse me, Sissy. There was ISD in there. There was actual people moderating and commentating on the fight on stream, so that was good. And you had a bunch of gals led by Rain Chocolate. She was there leading that front there. Manic Velocity was the team captain officially of the boys team, but the FC was Elo Knight. So he was there barking out orders, doing a real good job. I don't want to get into too much detail, because I want Rain to be able to defend herself and the poor performance of the girls team. I didn't want to say it, but girls drool and boys ruled that event, and she'll be on shortly to talk about what went on there.
Yeah, the boys obviously win.
Yeah.
Had a slight numerical advantage, I believe, but
well,
we're the best. Girls that got cooties, so they lost.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, they did say they were going to have 40-something girls, but you know how women are. They got lost somewhere at the last gate, and they couldn't figure out how to get onto the next system. But that's fine. That's fine. We'll talk about it once she gets back.
If you don't mind me just jumping in here real quick while we're waiting for Rain to come back.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to go over one other thing that caused quite a bit of some tensions and a bit of some tempers to flare up yesterday and today, and that was some allegations of exploits and cheating. And we mentioned this earlier in the stream about some individuals claiming that there was a new exploit in EVE that PL and other pilots were using to try and extricate their items from UALX. And so I just wanted to go over, for some of the people that might be new to this podcast, new to EVE, what exactly it means to have an exploit, and what CCP does about that. So it's just going to take a few minutes, and hopefully Rain can join us in that time frame. But an exploit is basically a means of taking advantage of a vulnerability within the game's mechanics, whether that be the software or the hardware of EVE Online. Right now, the allegations are that individuals are using downtime and the scheduled server downtime that occurs every single day to get their ships to be repositioned in space. And most people are theorizing that this is taking place by using that server log off timer, so that they log on a few seconds before the server kicks them off automatically. And in that time period, their ship gets assigned a new location in space by the e-warp mechanics that are taking place. So that when they log on a second time after the downtime, their ship is now in a new spot, and they can safely Sino out. That's the current theory that's going on. But with CCP and with that big long dev post that we got from Falcon, there's a very clear and specific path that needs to be taken if you ever suspect something like this to be occurring in the game. So I'm going to link it real quick in the stream chat here. But this here is the current declared exploits that we have for EVE Online, as well as instructions on how to properly declare to CCP that you have found and located some sort of exploit, and this is the best way to go about it. We don't really know what's going on. There have been confirmations that some people that were in UALX in Titans are no longer there, but a node died, right? The server crashed. We don't really know how those people got out or if they were even still in the battle at the time. Sure, we have screenshots that showed their ships there, but the server was so lagged up that they could have been logged off for 20 or 30 minutes, and that ship could have been anywhere in space by the time they got kicked out of the game.
Yeah, the performance in UALX was a little bit weird, a little bit wonky. I went to sleep about 30 minutes before the node crashed because I was like, too tired. I'm too old for this. It's a young man's game to play E for 15 hours in a row. But I must have been super unlucky because my client had about a 25% uptime. So I would be online and then for 5 minutes, and then I'd crash, and then it would take me 15 minutes to get back in. Like almost exactly to a T, 15 minutes to get back in. Then I'd issue one command. I'd be like, fire this gun. And then it would take about 4 minutes. Then I'd see the gun fire, and then I'd crash. And I'd have to do it again. So it was a wild time for me.
Well, I remember shooting a Titan with a interceptor, and it took an hour before my guns reloaded.
Yeah. It really brought me back to some of the old fights in EVE Online. So before we had time dilation, uh, the server would just basically die and random shit would happen. It was great. Sometimes ships that died would come back. There was one dude in PL that he lost his Titan in MTAC-0. And he logged in like 3 days later to try and, because he was like going away for the weekend, came back and he was like in a pod next to an empty avatar. And he was like, okay. So we just jumped back in it and jumped out. It had 0% armor, 1% structure, and full shields. So he repped it all the way back up. He repped it with a whole rep inside a POS mod and a POS force field. And it took him the better part of 7 hours because he only could use Tech 1 hull reps.
That's hilarious.
And
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, the game used to do horrible, atrocious, abysmal stuff when there was upwards of like 1,000 or 2,000 people in there. Now we've got soul crushing lag, as they call it, and actually the error message calls it soul crushing lag when there's like 4,000 people. So
Yes.
maybe one day we can break the server with upwards of 8,000 people. The dream. But I mean, the server is always going to get broken with the way the current game mechanics are, right? Because everyone if you say we can put 4,000 people in there, we'll try and shove 5,000. Say you could put 7,000, we'll try and shove 8,000. Like EVE Online players will always do that.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, I mean, we can bitch and moan about how, why can't we fit this many people in there? Like, as soon as we're able to actually do it like consistently, we're just going to up ante.
Of course. So that's what we do. That's our thing.
It's all about optimization, right?
Yeah, but hopefully,
Min max, it's great.
I mean, when was that last server upgrade? Was that 2 years ago? Almost 3 now? Was that far back?
2 years ago, I think. Yeah, the T3 Tranquility or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, yeah, they did upgrade it, and I'm sure they did everything they could. I mean, we all would love to have thousands and thousands and thousands of people playing in the system and having fun and killing each other, but it's just not realistic. Fun, maybe. Realistic, no.
Yeah, another issue is, especially why I think people get so mad, is there used to be a lot of visibility whenever like a server upgrade was made or whenever there was some little optimization being done in the back end. They just post dev blogs about it because the people doing it were like really passionate about it and really liked making dev blogs. But I don't think I'm pretty sure there are changes being made way more frequently than we are aware of, but there just aren't like posts about it, which kind of sucks. But
yeah, that has been kind of lacking. But I mean, I kind of get it. Their team has taken quite a hit, and so there's not a whole lot of devs that can devote time to telling us all the fun stuff that we'd love to know. But that's why we have people that are in the meta to try and hunt down all those details, and people like CSM who can enlighten us where they can and where there's not a gag order on them. So yeah. All right, Cleveland. Did that cover that up? Did we lose somebody? Oh,
I think
Dunk.
we lost Dunk, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's probably in the middle of a fight. But yeah, if you guys need to fight, just let me know, and I'll just keep yapping.
That covered it. I was hoping that Rahne would join us, but it looks like she's still busy.
Yep, that's all right. So what we're going to be talking about this week is the Alliance tournaments, as we've discussed a little bit. The Alliance Tournament number 16 is starting this weekend. It is Saturday. So what exactly is the Alliance Tournaments?
All right, so this is one of the longest standing, in fact, I think it is the longest standing tradition in EVE Online. It's almost every year. I think there are like a few times where it was every 8 months or so. So there, in the beginning, it might have been a little bit of overlap. But basically, every year for the last 16 years, there's been an alliance tournament where different alliances will join and have a weird set of rules that are very unconventional to how EVE Online is generally played. Um, and they just fight in a single elimination tournament for the first couple of years, and then a double elimination tournament since Alliance Tournament, I think 10 or so. And they just try to kill one another. And the winners get cool, really nifty ships that are unique, and everyone who participates get really neat skins as well. So it's a really fun thing to do for a group of like 20 people, or even as few as 15 people, to make it work really, really well. If you're going to be like a super great Alliance Tournament team, probably 40 people is about the sweet spot for how much you need. But it's a 10 on 10 tournament, so I think it's 10 on 10 this year. I should know this. But yeah, it's a relatively small, so you and your friends can get together and do it, or you could have once you signed up. And yeah, it's going to be running 4 weekends. And let's see, this weekend we're going to have coverage. There's going to be two different systems. There'll be like concurrent matches going on. We'll hopefully be showing the ones that we assume are going to be the best, but we'll also be showing the other ones as well. So there will be a multi-Twitch thing going on, so you can watch both of the streams if there's one set up in Team 2 that you want to watch and one set up in Team 1. And of course, we'll upload it to YouTube. So it'll be this weekend, the weekend after that, and then the weekend after that will be like the semifinals. And then on the fourth weekend, it's actually not a weekend, it's just a Saturday. It's going to be the finals, because the rules for the finals are a little bit different this year. So
Yeah.
they're devoting a whole day to the finals. And then there's going to be a Eve meet right after that. And it will be super, super fun. Action packed, lots of explosions in the first, like, in the first weekend, there's a lot of explosions, and there are lots of like really clowny, maybe people who shouldn't be in the alliance are they buy like ridiculous stuff. But then as the weeks progress, you see like really incredible teams, like really well choreographed, really well thought up, and it's just a testament to theory crafters in EVE Online, and also good and sometimes bad piloting.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know
I've
if
got
you're-
the I'm sorry, I've got the matches already up on screen. So if you're curious, you're looking at PE1 TAC R1 as well as JB-007. I'm pretty sure these are the same systems they've used before. That's in the Jove space. So you can see the schedule on there. Starts at 1400, and then basically every 20 minutes there'll be a new match.
Yeah, so it's actually really hard to, because I've produced some of these before, not quite the Alliance Tournament level, but very similar. It's so hard to get the teams to be moved in with as little downtime as possible, because nobody likes watching us talk about as a commentator. No one likes the analysts part that goes on for like 10 minutes. Sometimes we have to do it, but this is the fastest we can get it done without people stepping in on each other. We don't want two teams, or we don't want four teams to be in the system at the same time. We just want one system with the referees, the commentators, and the two teams competing, and that's it, nobody else. But there are going to be some really fun matches that you might not be looking out for. So you definitely should give it a peek. The Pandemic Legion team is going against Two Maidens, One Chalice, which is a great team name. Hope there's going to be some interesting piloting in that one. Lumpy will be fighting Goon Swarm later in the day. That's going to be a fun match. Goon Swarm, typically not a very good Alliance Tournament team, but I think this year they're going to try it a little bit more. And then day one, we get Test Alliance Please Ignore versus Triumvirate.
Oh yeah.
How dope is that going to be? You have like this huge fight going on
Yeah,
TQ,
that's gonna
and
be
then
good.
you get it in the Alliance Tournament as well. So fun.
Mm-hmm. And I did want to mention that on Sunday, it's usually you'd see on Sunday that's going to be the winners of yesterday is going to be in that double elimination bracket, but there are some wild cards in there. So if you look on that right now, I have that loaded up. You can see that match number 1 on Sunday is going to be winner number 1 of the previous day against Hydra Reloaded, and then let's see, match number 43. You've got Northern Coalition in there. Match number 47, Hydra Reloaded, not to be confused with Hydra Reloaded, and then Laserhawks in number 51. So we've got some wild cards in there, some guys who've already secured their spot, and they will be automatically in there.
Yeah, the reason that worked out is because there were a few buys because the entire tournament didn't like finish all the way, and some people backed out right after closing. So instead of opening it up to a whole bunch of new people, we just gave a few people some buys, and this is the buys went along with how the team was finished in the previous Alliance tournament. So Hydra beat Hydra Reloaded in the winners or in the finals last year. So those guys both get buys. Same with NC Dot and Laserhawks. They finished 3 and 4th respectively, I think. So yeah, those 4 guys get buys because we needed someone to get a buy, and it makes sense that the winners get them. So should be good. Should be good. I'm very very excited to see. So the rule set has been completely revamped this year, which we'll get into in a couple minutes. So the meta from the last few years, which people were kind of complaining about getting stale, completely flipped on its head. And the best way to see like the meta being changed is the flagships.
Mm-hmm.
So the flagships in the Alliance tournament are like ships that you can fit special modules basically. And if the ship dies, you can't use it anymore. So generally, flagships with officer modules have always been Balgorns. Like everyone chooses Balgorn. Like 80% of the flagships for the last 5 years have been Balgorns. There was like a small area where Vindicators and Scorp Navy issues were really in vogue, but basically just Balgorns, Balgorns, Balgorn. Now, with the changes, the Balgorn is kind of like left out on the hamper, and everyone's picking up the Triglavian battleship, the Leshak. And it is going to be super cool to see these ships that can do so much damage. Oh my god.
Yeah, so not only
But
can
you've
you use
also got to
those.
remember that the flagship can also use mutated abyssal modules
Mm-hmm.
this year.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah, you can use the abyssal like mutated mods, and you can like people have been using those mutagens on like super officer mods, so you can like super super pimp out your Leshak this year. You're talking about like hundreds upon hundreds of billions of this potentially. Not saying anyone's crazy enough to do it, but potentially they could have. And it'll be just great to see the new Leshaks as well, like the new Triglavian ships. They're considered Tech 1 ships, so they're super low in points. So I'm almost certain that we'll see more Triglavian ships than ever. Like well, obviously than ever, but than any other like type of ship. So I think you'll always see in a match at least one Triglavian ship. Probably the little frigate, but you know the
Who's
super.
the sponsor for the tournament this year? Like, you know how you have like Serpent this or
Society of Conscious Thought.
Yes,
That's
it's
it.
the SOCT. So it's the people that make the Gnosis, the Praxis, and the Apotheosis. Those guys are the sponsors this year. A little
So-
lore fun fact, but there is like a relationship between the SOCT and the Serpentis. Like the leaders of both organizations are related. So you know, there's some interesting evil lore to throw in there.
One of the biggest changes they're also making this year to switch up the AT meta is that you can no longer double up on ships. The maximum
that's
number
gonna
of copies of any given ship has been
That's-
reduced to 1.
Yeah, it used to be 3 of one ship, and then they're like, that's too much because basically everyone would just take 3 Sleipnirs and just run over everyone else. So they moved it down to 2, and then this year, CCB Fozzie was like, you know what? we're changing it up some more. Just one. You can only take one ship. So if you're really into Merlins, you can only have one Merlin on your team. Obviously, that doesn't include Tech 2 variants. So you can have like a Merlin and a Hawk, but you can only have one.
What about if like fleet issues or navy issues?
Yeah, you can have a Vexer and a Navy Vexer as well. That's fine.
Okay.
And you could have your flagship be like, a Balgorn, right? And you could bring in another Balgorn, right? Because the flagship bypasses those rules.
Yes, but you can't bring any other unique other than the flagship. So if you bring a flagship, it counts as your one unique, and you can only bring one unique. So you can't do like a flagship and a Rabisu or an Atana. Like that just doesn't fly anymore.
Gotcha.
And then to mix things up even further,
Oh boy.
on the finals day, so the grand finals, uh, it's going to be a best of 5 as it always is, with a winner's advantage for going through the winner's bracket. But if you win with a setup, you can't take that setup again. You can't take any of the ships
Really?
in that setup again. Yeah.
Wow.
Any of the ships. Wow.
So
So
say if
again,
you win
the
with like a
flagship.
Batsy or something, you can never use like a Jesus.
Yeah. So generally in the Alliance Tournament Grand Finals for the last few years, it's always been really stale with some really unique fights going on. Like I remember the Grand Finals 2 years ago, PL took like a 3 or a 2 Maracha setup, and it was just dope and it was super cool. But like last year, it was the same mirror matches over and over again. And the previous years, it's just been a bunch of mirror matches over and over again with like some slight tweaks to it. Part of the reason is because you're like under so much pressure after fighting all day. You just don't want to think. You're just like, let's go with our end game setup. We can make a few module changes, and that's what we're gonna do. So it would essentially just look like the same thing over and over, but there would be vast module changes. But it was kind of boring and got really stale. And then last year was a little bit ridiculous because we had a Drake win, which apparently happens. But now this year, to throw the winners on their heads, they only have to fight on one day. Like that's all they have to do. The grand finals is just one day by itself, so you're not going to be fighting all day. But you're going to have a different setup every time you fight.
So I think the third biggest change for the meta has been the number of bans that are allowed per fight in the main match.
Yeah, the bans are there to keep things interesting, to keep the meta from becoming too overwhelming. For a while, if you watched Alliance tournaments before, you guys would notice that drone setups would become really prevalent. Part of the reason was because they were really hard to ban, right? Because like, oh, you could ban 2 drone ships. Good thing there's an entire race that only has drone ships, and then a pirate faction for another race that has all drone ships. So it's super easy to avoid bans. So you could practice like one archetype, which is like a drone kiting. And if you were like a fringe team or like a new coming team, as long as you just practice with drones, the ships would be fungible. Like, okay, ban Ishtar, I'll take a Vexor Navy issue. Ban both, I'll take a Gila. Like ban everything, I still have options, right? Um, so drones got nerfed again, which is good because that was really boring. Kind of takes some of the interesting aspects of flight out of it and pilot skill out. And then two, like yeah, the bans became a little bit easier to do. So the pick ban phase is going to be way more interesting. A lot more to talk about too as analysts is how these captains are going to plan in their pick ban stage. Like it's entirely possible that you lose a match just because your captain screwed up on a pick and ban because he didn't think all the way through. And we've seen it in like player run tournaments before. Event has a great player run tournament that's been going on for the last 3 or 4 years. And you can really see like how good a good captain is. So the winning team, uh, I'm blanking on his name. I shouldn't blank. Hopefully he's not watching. But uh, it's gonna kill me until I think of his name. He's like a solo PvPer from Eve Uni. I'll figure it out. But anyways, he's one of the best captains. And last year he didn't drop an entire match, and then this tournament he dropped 2 matches, but he still won the whole thing. And it's just because he would outdraft people so well. His pilots didn't even have to do anything really. I mean, they did, but they didn't have to.
So I was in the Alliance Tournament last year. I flew around. I got a medal for it. You might recall, because I was with the Alliance Rejection of Sovereignty. But I think our signature move was micro jump driving our ships right out of the arena before the match even started.
Yeah, I always gotta love that.
Elise, is this one of the groups you were talking about when you say that they shouldn't?
Yeah, sometimes there's, sorry, I was busy typing just to look through my notes. But yes, I mean, moves like that, really risky. But that's something you generally see in the first weekend. It's just clowny stuff, as I like to call it. Just teams that maybe they're a little bit outclassed, but you know, there are some great upsets that happen in that bracket as well, in that part of the bracket as well. So Hydra Reloaded ended up dropping their first match going into the losers bracket, which is incredibly grueling. And I talked to their pilots. It's one of the reasons that they feel like they lost or came in second slash lost is because they got bumped down to the first or to the losers bracket unexpectedly on day one. Like they didn't want it to happen. They didn't plan for it. They're just like, oh, we fly well. We can just take a really cookie cutter setup. Blah blah blah. Nope. They went down to Tempest Calcif, who became like a pretty good Alliance Tournament team. They put a lot of work into it. Uh, the last Spartan, their team captain and Alliance Executor, I think, is a great captain for competitive Eve stuff. He really gets the most out of his team, and he knows he knows a good draft, right? So he's one of the good drafters we're talking about.
Yeah, last year was really interesting. There was a lot of up and comers, some teams that you didn't expect to be making it in as far as they did, and I think this year we're going to see a lot more of that. I mean, I know a lot of teams have been practicing and getting a lot of good scrimmages in. So, do we have any wild expectations?
Keelan Darklight is the pilot I was trying to think of before.
Oh yeah.
The best drafters for this type of thing. I mean, in terms of matches that I'm really looking forward to and that could be potential upsets, I don't know. The Goonswarm versus Lumpy match I think will be very fun. The Quebec United Legion versus Bastion match I think will be really fun. The Quebec United Legion, they take setups that nobody would really plan for. So most of the times they're bad, but sometimes they're actually pretty good, or at least effective. I don't want to say good, but they will be at least effective. And that's some of the hardest thing to plan against. If you have no idea what you're coming against, maybe you win that match 4 times out of 5, but you only get one chance at it. So if you're surprised the first time, that surprise factor can really work in your favor. So the Quebec United Legion, they're one of my favorite teams to watch. When they first came on the scene, I think 3 years ago, uh, everyone had selected their flagships, and Quebec United Legions were the only, or United Legion were the only team to ever select in the history of the Alliance Tournament a Tempest. I think it was a Tempest fleet issue as their. It was a Tempest or a Typhoon fleet issue as their flagship. No one had ever really fielded it in the Alliance Tournament. Nonetheless, made it their flagship. But they're like, this will be our flagship. It was like 50 Balagorns, 3 Vindicators, a Dominix, a Scorp Navy issue, and then this Typhoon fleet issue.
So now, Elise, have you or have you not done commentating before for for the tournaments?
I have. I've been the Alliance Run commentator for 3 of the last 4 years. I took 2 years ago off, but then last year I came back because I couldn't sit on the sidelines any longer.
Right.
And this year I'll be in for the 3rd weekend. I'll probably be remote for the first 2 weekends as well. You'll definitely hear my voice. We've got Lazarus Telraven, who's also going to be a commentator. Rain Chocolate is going to be a commentator as well. Some of the people we're flying out. Let's see who else. Black Bart Pirate from NC Dot is also going to be a commentator. This will be his first time doing it. And then we've got people like Sutonia, like great tournament players and like great minds for EVE Online. You got Reload who's coming. Oh, I should know all these people because I made a list of when they're casting. But there's going to be a great number of, very well practiced, I should say, commentators and analysts.
What about the one and the only Jintan?
He'll be there. He is bringing a suit.
Oh god, it is. Of course, he's bringing a suit.
God
We
bless.
actually had to change our NDA a little bit to make sure nobody released any information about his suit. should they
Wait,
find out.
wait.
So
You're telling me there's an NDA on Jintan's bling fit suits?
that is the benefit of knowing a lawyer. You can
Wow.
you can put wild stuff into an NDA. So we have
Wow.
like information
done.
about the ships in there, a whole bunch of cool stuff. We got the trailer already made. I've seen it. Wish I could link it to you, but it's super cool.
Yeah, I put this trailer on the show a few weeks back, I think. But yeah, so it's like it's got a shot of Jintan, and it's like zooming in slowly and slowly and slowly until it's like just focusing in on that bright shiny tie of his.
We got the official trailer though as well.
Oh, that wasn't official? That looked official as shit.
That was the NDA covered one, and yeah, then Jinten suit. It's in the NDA, of course. So.
Yeah. Yeah, man, his suits are always on point wherever he goes. Good for him. So, one of my questions then is, because, so we did the boys versus girls Twitch stream this week, and I, in between matches, I did switch over to the CCP stream, and I'm not sure who it was that they had. I want to say it was Chester for the boys team, or covering at least as a male representative, and then for the girls team, I don't know who that was, but I do know she said it was her first time really commentating, and she was kind of struggling to really verbalize what she was seeing on screen, because for anybody that plays EVE Online or has watched some of the ATs, I mean, you're literally looking at 20 or so dots flying around on a black screen that's some are red, some are blue. And, I mean, who knows what's going on, except for you guys know, and you're telling us. So, I mean, what really goes into commentating?
So it's really difficult. And by the way, the person you're referring to, she's a Twitch streamer. Her Twitch channel is Smoked Up Princess.
Ah, yeah.
All one word. She's a newer player to EVE Online. Her stream's pretty entertaining to watch. I would suggest watching if you like watching EVE streams. Who would do such a thing? But yeah, for the whole thing for commentating, it's kind of something that we had to make up on the fly. And the most people that do it, there's one major EVE Online tournament that happens twice a year. We have 2 seasons every year. And for the last 3 or 4 years, I should know this because I run it, but most of the commentators that are in for the Alliance Tournament have been doing that religiously. So in their free time, they devote 16 weekends of their year to just do Alliance Tournament commentating or Alliance Tournament style commentating. But it is difficult. The hardest thing to get down is to know where the camera is looking, because the person controlling the camera isn't the commentator. So you have to use your own camera, figure out where the camera is pointing to on screen, and then figure out a way that you can like information dump everything that's going on and that should be going on, and some good piloting practices and some bad ones. So you have to all point this all out in like a couple seconds. And then sometimes the jerk pilots don't do what you think they're gonna do.
Damn them.
You're like, guys, this hyena's gonna go off to the left, and then he's gonna try and web this thing. He ends up doing some random shit, like he just flies straight forward, webs like a vindicator, and then dies. And you're like, okay, well, sorry about that, guys. Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, it's just like with any commentating, whether it's sports, esports, or whatnot, like, you don't know what the player's going to do. I think the most entertaining part is the commentary. It's, what you guys are saying. It's not exactly, a scientifically proven method, but if you're funny and if you got good dialogue between you and your counterpart, I mean, that's what it's all about, right?
yeah. So one of the hardest, or one of the challenges of organizing the pairs of commentators is to get someone who's a little bit more excitable, to kind of keep people entertained and follow the play-by-play, and then someone who's very knowledgeable. Obviously, everyone is very knowledgeable and everyone is very well spoken, but you try and get people to play off their strengths that way. And yeah, I mean, I think we put on a good show. We have a lot of practice doing it. That's the thing. EVNT, the reason CCP chose EVNT to do the production this year is because we have like a track record of
tip top.
Exactly.
It is some top notch.
And women putting the show on, and it's a labor of love as well. Like you're talking about 40 people that devote dozens of hours every week into making sure this goes on. and make sure it goes on well.
Yeah, I think last year's was great. I mean, the setup, you got the stage, and real, a real desk, and you got laptops on there, and everything is real nice and official. It looks good. I think everybody kind of appreciates that, so it brings a little bit of realism into what we do. Because I mean, as many people are talking about in chat, I mean, it's hard to follow along sometimes, and the random player or the random person who just happens to see, oh, there's like 5,000 people watching this stream. Let me see what's going on. And they're like, what?
I don't think there's a game that can be less hopeless for people to just pick up and watch than
I know.
So I agree with that. It's like, so Eve is a super complex game, right? So if you're just like stumbling through Twitch, you see the space game, you're like, I don't get what's going on. It looks pretty. I have no idea. But then you get to the Alliance Tournament where people who play Eve sometimes get bogged down with lexicon and don't know what's going on. Like, we're talking about Eve players, people who have gone through the learning curve of Eve Online. They still face a new one when it comes to the Alliance Tournament. So we try to kind of bring that information down to people who might not be AT pros, but also, I mean, the core of people who are interested in the Alliance Tournament are just fans of the Alliance Tournament as well. So we have to kind of strike a good balance between the level that we want to do. We don't want to do like a newbie stream for everyone, and we don't want to be like way up at the top talking only to Sutoni and Chesser. Like,
Oh
so
yeah, God.
it is definitely tricky. And then as a caster, like the only or caster slash analyst, the only feedback that I ever have is going off of Twitch chat, which not always the most constructive community. BT dubs.
Hey, well, I mean,
Luckily,
it's
people have been very, very nice to me at eVegas and eFanFest that have been walking up and said, "Hey, we watched. You're from the Alliance Tournament, right? Oh, that was great. By the way, this is what sucked. This is what was great. Thanks so much for doing it." And it just warms my heart and makes me give everyone hugs.
I met you at Vegas, not last year, but the year before that. So I don't think you were in any condition to remember who I was.
I mean, that's me in a regular outing. It's like a 4-day blur, but I do remember it. Bozo 1980. Thank you for making me feel, I mean, bad, but also good because you're 1980s. You're someone born in the 80s. Oh man, I was doing something and someone's name in Twitch or something, their username was 1997. I was like, yeah, that can't be real. Like that person just likes
no.
the number 1997. No, that was their birth year. They were actually born in 1997. Those people can use the internet. They can drive. I think pretty sure they can vote. It's
right?
terrifying.
Yeah.
At least
they could be born in the year 2000 now and vote.
At least get this. So some of these people might know I'm active duty in the Army, and we had some junior ROTC cadets come, and they wanted to tour around the barracks and see what kind we did in the motor pool, look at our vehicles and stuff like that. And one of the kids was asking me like, oh, well, when did you first go to Iraq? I said, well, I first went in 2003. And some other kid chimes up, oh, that's when I was born.
What? No, those people don't exist. Like, that's
Fucking speechless.
Insane.
It is wild. But yeah, so
I
go
used to be a professor / professor's assistant for a freshman level economy class, and it was the worst. I felt really bad all the time. I was super old. People were born in the 90s talking about stuff, having opinions, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago. I can imagine what it is now.
Yeah, so another one of the things I really like about the ATs is the commercials. Some of the best commercials. I think probably some of my most favorite commercials is the ones involving Rahne. Those seem to be the best ones.
The Rahne commercials are pretty great. I don't know if they're back this year.
Yeah.
There have been a bunch of commercials, player-made commercials. I think the cutoff for the first weekend, at least,
it was last week.
Was last week.
Yeah.
If you make a commercial, we can probably squeeze it in for weekend 2 or 3 if it's really good. So don't give up. Don't give hope out.
Yeah, I did resubmit our Mind Clash advertisement that we used last year, so hopefully that pops up. It's popped up quite a few times in the ATs and Vegas and whatnot, so hopefully you'll see that again.
I don't think there were many that we had we had to reject. I know there was at least two that
Yes.
we had to reject because they didn't. They just weren't good.
So there is a chance.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
But yeah, the player-made advertisements are always really, really fun. So,
I've seen quite a few. Like I've seen quite a few that people have been passing around for review that they're getting ready for the AT. I know Bombers Bar is going to be doing one. I saw the test one.
Yeah, we've got some good ones.
Happy ones. Yeah, I'm actually excited to see the Test Alliance Please Ignore team this year. I've always been, the last like 3 years, I've been like, this is Test's year. They're gonna do it, and they've always done like really well. Like I think they understand the meta incredibly well. I think they have a meta understanding of a top 5 team, and piloting of like a top 15 team, like year in and year out. Like consistency is what I'm so impressed by. So I'm really excited to see the Tappy versus Tri match in day one, at like the end of the day too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. I know we've had a lot of like change up in the leadership of our AT team, so I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go. But I mean, everybody, like the few people that are running it are all AT veterans have just been flying as line members and are stepping up now. But not line members, I don't know what you would call a non-leadership AT person.
All right, so boys and girls, girls and boys, everyone calm down because we have Rain Chocolate is in the house.
Ooh.
How am I supposed to calm down?
I know, right? Hi, Rain. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry, I'm late. So I was in an ELO fleet and we ended up rescuing some dreads, and that's why I'm late.
Yeah, shit does happen. I mean, you guys do have a little tendency to be late. Any thoughts on that?
A lot of time getting ready. I'll be on my best for your show.
Oh, of course, of course. So welcome to the show. Welcome back. You are one of our first guests, and will definitely not be the last guest that we ever have. But thank you for coming back on. You were a commentator last year, right?
Yep, for Alliance Tournament 15.
Yeah. So you were a commentator then. You're gonna be a commentator this year, right?
So I'm going to Nottingham to broadcast with Even T from their studio. That should be the final 2 weekends. So I want to say, I think it's like the 11th and 12th, and then the 18th.
Yeah, and they're gonna have a finals viewing party there in Nottingham, right?
Yeah, so what they have is they have like I want to say a professional grade studio that they broadcast from, which is I believe either above or right next to like I don't want to say if it's a bar or just like a gathering place for people to hang out and watch, and that's where they've had Even Tea in the past. So there's definitely like space for people to like put on the show, and then space for people to hang out and watch and talk and this and that, which is like super exciting to see. I don't know if anyone has watched some of these tournaments live, but I think they're pretty entertaining just to hear the crowd.
Nice. That'd be pretty awesome.
We'll be piping in fake audio as well.
Right.
Get that fake crowd noise going if only like 4 people show up.
Yeah, like
We have a little local meetup group that meets up for the AT every year. So we get about sometimes like 2 people there. So it's always fun.
You should make sure everyone logs in on their phone on their own Twitch accounts, because we need that viewer count to be higher. So if like a dozen people are watching on one, that's not good. We need to bump those numbers up.
Yeah, just have the chat loaded.
Take their phone out and open it up.
So Rain, how was the little fight you just were involved in?
it was actually a lot of fun. So I was in a scimitar, so I don't really get on kill mails or anything, but we somehow managed to kill a fax in UALX, I'm pretty sure. And then we did a couple, I want to say, fleet skirmishes. I have no idea like the wins or the losses on that. I think we only managed to lose, I think, 1 or 2 scimitars, and then Elo died in his Lachesis at one point. Yeah, for the most part, I think we were quote unquote winning that fight.
Yeah, I was in a Bassie and doing this. It was hard to listen.
Should have done what I did and showed up fashionably late.
Nah.
Nah. So, we've kind of talked a little bit about what the ATs are, what it's like commentating. I don't think we've really touched too much on what are the rewards this year, because I know it's always a big thing. Talking about rewards, you're looking at getting some plex, usually looking at getting some skins, depending on where you placed within the ATs, and then you have those Alliance Tournament ships that are always quite fancy, but I don't know that we're having AT reward ships this year, right?
We are. We absolutely
What?
1 billion% are.
But we don't know what they are yet, right?
They're
Not
modified Triglavian ships, aren't they?
Yeah, so it's hosted by Society of Conscious Thought, and the lore behind getting the AT ships was Society of Conscious Thought managed to get some Triglavian ships. So from what you can kind of guess, and based on what they quote unquote leaked within some of the videos, that it's a mix between like it'll be Triglavian hulls, but then somehow have Society of Conscious Thought flair to it.
That's cool.
So that might be what we're seeing in the hobo leaks as far as the new Triglavian ships. That could be the reward ships.
Dun, dun, dun.
I think then the only reason that I would doubt that is because that'd be the earliest they've ever put out the AT ships.
So the funny joke behind that is like those ships are authored and made like super early, but getting them actually into the game is kind of difficult. So I know for the victors and the virtuosos, which was last year, the year before last year, they had them ready to be handed out the day after the Alliance tournament ended or something, but they just couldn't get the actual authoring of them in the game because they like missed a deadline and then they missed another cutoff, and then like they seeded them, but like they weren't quite working. And so a whole bunch of shit just broke. I ended up waiting like 6 months. But I remember, I think my fondest memory of stuff not coming quickly is the Lions Tournament Cup. Is an in-game item that most people don't know about. You can't destroy it or anything. You can't really even move it. Rather, if you do destroy it, it just gets recreated, which is fun. But 1 year we won the Alliance tournament. We got the thing, or we didn't get awarded the cup because they had forgotten to take it away from the previous year. So they just left it in our hangars for 2 years. And because they let it sit there for so long, they forgot that it was actually a thing. So it wasn't used for like 3 years or something.
Oh my gosh.
But luckily we just kept winning. So back in the good days when we were good.
What do you think Kael's going to do this year?
I think we're going to finish number 1. Our team is super stacked. We've got all stars in every position.
You competed, huh?
Who's your Logi pilot?
We've got a few Logi pilots. I can't tell you, Rahne, you're not on the team. I have competed in previous years. I've been a co-captain for a while, but they don't let me fly anymore because I'm not good enough.
So it's not you then.
I mean, most of the reason I don't fly is because I wanted to commentate. So obviously I don't want to fly and be a commentator at the same time because people will be like, oh, he's got some inside information. That's why they're winning. So to remove all doubt or anything, I just don't fly. But also, I think I'm probably not good enough anymore. I was good in a few years ago, but now
So now I think the question really at the end of the day is, once you have the Alliance tournaments and you have all these teams that are fighting, getting eliminated, and then we have the semifinals and the finals, and we find out who is the ultimate victor of the 64 teams, I believe it is, overall. What does it matter? What do you get out of it besides some cool ships, skins, plex, and bragging rights?
I mean, the total volume, or I want to say monetary value, is at least 2 trillion. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, you're talking about 50. You get 50 ships, and each one selling between 150 and 200 billion, depending on how good they are or how much people want to pay. So you're talking about some PHAT fat stacks, not just fat stacks. It's PHAT stacks of money, and also bragging rights. You get to say, "Haha, I won," and you didn't. And in EVE Online, it's all about the bragging rights, right? Like that's why people play, so we could just post about how we're better.
Creecher, we got our dreads out. Get done.
There you go. See, exactly. A game about posting.
I was like most of the time, the ones that I locked up are dead. I can't do anything.
You see us trying to
Buy
rep
them
them?
up too low.
Already replaced.
We actually mined for those dreads and insured them, so we actually made money on every dread that died. You spend money on the ammo, you loser. Neener,
Well,
neener,
well
neener.
done.
Oh.
Don't get your rags out yet, right?
I don't think we have regs in there. Black Legion's too poor to have like a Titan fleet. We just have like a bridging Titan that we really protect and try not to feed it to Horde or something like that.
So now, I think I remember something last year. Rahne, you might be able to fill me in because I think it did involve you. I definitely know it did involve you. But did you not lose an AT commentator's ship while you were out and about?
Yeah, the GM ship, yeah, that was a mistake.
How'd you get that blown up?
So I was foolishly messing around with it, and if you look at the stats,
Messing.
it's like 999989, and then like even then it has insane regen. So if someone shoots you for high damage, it has insane regen. And so I think I had made the comment because I was told, quote unquote, it's indestructible. And I was like, oh, so I can tank this Keepstar Doomsday, right? And it was like, no, I cannot tank the Keepstar Doomsday. And it was just like a really bad thing.
Mistakes
Damn.
were made. But it's not on ZKill anymore, so it doesn't exist.
Yeah, right?
Because nothing's on ZKill, so no kills matter. Okay, ZKill's back now.
Kind of bad.
It matters again.
I'm looking at
APL's back up.
where, like everything just says Alliance ID number, blah blah blah. So it should be JP stats all around.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious. I know this weekend I'm actually going to be on duty, so I'm going to have the pleasure of watching as much Alliance Tournament as I want to watch. But if you are in some sort of group or you have a bar that you like to go to that happens to be gracious enough to play the ATs, give us a shout out on Twitter or in the Discord and let us know where you're going to be having a little party at, so we can rep you guys and see if we can get some more friends and fans in there for you. That'd be interesting to know. So I'm going to be watching it all day Saturday while I'm on duty, so that's going to be fun for me. Give me something to do.
If anybody is in Southern Louisiana, hit me up at the end.
Oh yeah, that's right. You had a little group get together, right?
Yep. We've had a lot of people there. We've had Pro God and Billy, and we've had the other big group.
Cool.
Yes,
Alright.
you should definitely tell them to go to that meet so I can get my supers out. They're all in one place, cut the power, and we're good.
Oh my god.
So Ray, now that we got you in comms, we want to go ahead and talk about a little bit about what happened with the boys versus girls Streamfleet event. So we had it was 3 different matches. The first one was with destroyers. We had destroyer. No. It was cruisers first, right?
Yeah, cruisers first. So we had, I want to say, like minimal restrictions on what we could fly. The rules were very loose, which ended up kind of creating some confusion. So we said T1 cruisers and below means T1 destroyers, T1 frigates. So no Navy, no pirate, no T2, no T3. But there was zero limit on implants, the mods we could use, etc. So because the event was held on CC, everyone was flying like blinged out ships, like max
Super
sort of implants.
super bling.
Yeah, and so we did the cruiser fleet, and of course, I mean, do you want me to go through the whole thing?
I mean, no. So I know on the guys' side, I think we had about 26 or so in the initial round, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the girls had 14. So we land on grid, and I was under the assumption that we were going with even teams because I know I had been bragging about girls Discord having 90 people, and I'm like,
Right.
okay, it's gonna be like outrageous for us
Yeah.
to have, like 10-1 odds or whatever. But we land on grid, and it was uneven, and the fight commenced. So we're just like, okay, well, let's just brawl it out anyway. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought we were doing pretty well for being
Yeah.
like really 2-1 odds or whatever.
And I think some of what the issue was that we were under the assumption that you guys were going to have somewhere around 40 team members. So when we went out there, we just assumed that we were going to be outnumbered.
Yeah, and so I know a lot of people had mentioned that they would not be able to partake, whether it was because of
Mm-hmm.
in-game stuff. I know like one person didn't anticipate like work getting in the way, and then work got in the way. A couple people had, I want to say there were like a lot of concerts going on and some real life meetups. I know there's one in New York
Concert.
City. Yeah, like someone wanted to see if I'm not gonna
Lame.
tell them like to quit, like to not do that and play the game.
I
Yeah,
mean,
so people had,
unless it was Backstreet Boys, I don't want to hear it.
I don't remember. I want to say it was Paramore. So it wasn't like, some random, like,
I don't even know who that is. Anyways, so we had that. They're definitely not that popular if I don't know them. But so then then we docked up, and then we kind of had to decide who was going to sit out and who was actually going to fly. So I sat out for that second match, which was Destroyers, and they went out there in Algos. It was an Algai fleet, I believe.
yeah. And so you guys had Damps, and we were in a Corm fleet,
Mm-hmm.
which relied on range. So obviously, like, we kind of got shafted there, but I think we were doing pretty well for the most part. It was a lot of like, I know for me, like when I got primaried, I just flew away and I got like 80 kilometers off with all the drones. Like I got like 80 kilometers away from my fleet with all the drones before I finally died, which probably helps the remaining people on my team. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
So that one we lost then too. But the third
Yeah.
fleet was, I would say, the quote unquote best fleet.
Yes.
The kitchen sink.
So that was the kitchen sink fleet. Anything subcap. So pretty much anything goes. Battleship, battle cruiser. I myself had a Macarial. I had a Macarial out there, and it was pretty blinged out. It was the typical fit that I would use for incursions. So I had a lot of officer mods on there. I did not get touched one time, and we'll get into what happened at the end of the match. But that was pretty good. I think you were in a Balgorn, if I remember correctly.
I was in a Nestor.
Nestor.
So the reason we were late on the first fleet was because I was given about 8 Alliance Tournament ships out in Amamake, which is about 11 jumps if I do a move meter ends to where we were. So I was under the impression that we had CCP support and therefore ISD would be supporting us. And then I was told, no, you have to gate this Raven State issue.
Yeah.
And good luck. So I got yeah, so I got really lucky to where a lot of the other girls could help me do like sort of logistics for this because I did not intend to be doing logistics for it, which is why we were late. So we fielded a Raven State issue, 2 Cambions, Evangel, and a Drestia, trying to think, a Victor, and then 1 Malice.
Mm-hmm.
And then Baleful Dysnomia actually brought her Silver Magnate. So that was probably the most expensive match ever in anything, purely because of the Raven State. And we all died too, I'm pretty sure. So Baleful didn't die. So, but the Raven State died, so it was automatically 2 trillion-esque loss for us if you want to put money to it.
Whenever I hear Raven State,
Hello.
Whenever you hear Raven State.
all right, whenever I hear Raven State, I just have to laugh because every single Alliance tournament, it seems like the Raven State issue goes up by about 500 billion in cost because
at least.
somebody brings one and loses it.
I don't think they've only ever lost 1 Raven State, huh?
I think there are only 4. One of them is on a band account, one of them belongs to Blue Melon, and then the other is with Entity, and 1 was lost.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I had to turn me down a little bit in the microphone volume because Hootie in the chat said I was too loud. So I apologize for being too loud. My bad. So that was the third match. Pretty much battleships, like you had Alliance tournament ships, all that kind of fun stuff. It was a sissy, so we can pretty much have anything we wanted. And by that time, because nothing was OPSEC, I was streaming. I know Manic was streaming. A lot of other people were streaming, so the system that we were in, it was not top secret. It was pretty much well known at this point. So we started to get scanned down, and in came the Dreads, the Titans, Revenants. I mean, God, you name it. Everything just started popping in that were just completely blinged out, and we decided at the end of that we were just gonna, you know what, we're gonna fight these Titans and supers. So that got a little fun.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if people were watching, but I think Bjornby tanked
Hmm.
a Doomsday with his
Yeah.
Marauder. It was like quite insane to watch him do that.
Yeah, I held on the boson for a good 3 or 4 seconds. I thought I was actually going to tank it, but once I went into structure, it was game over. I tried to move out of there as quick as I could, but that was it. I went back out there in another identical ship, but I ended up having to go, so I didn't get to stay around. But I know we did get a kill that Revenant. I'm not sure what else they killed.
Yeah, I don't know either. I eventually, so I don't know if you're aware, but I got pulled into a 1v1 with Manic to make up for the first match and how like like one-sided it was for a number of players. So
Oh,
me and Manic did a 1v1 and we showed up with nearly identical like Vexor fits. It was a cruiser 1v1. For some reason, I don't know why he didn't fit a like a low on his Vexor. He like was missing a low slot.
lows.
And
We don't
then
need no
yeah.
lows.
Yeah, he was pretty defensive about it. So we ended up like duking it out, and I ended up winning that one.
So, I mean, besides the bragging rights, do we get anything cool out of that? Do we get any cool titles to add to our bio?
No. That was purely just for the hell of it. I think so. Me and Manic were talking, and I'm like, I think there was one point, not recently, but like earlier, where we were just like, I don't even care if we have this event, like an actual PvP event. All I want to do is shit post a bunch. So like that's really what we did. I know
Yeah.
like Manic came up with a ton of propaganda, and then actually on my end, I got a Discord now full of like a community of women that hang out with each other.
So much propaganda.
hmm Yeah, but no, I think it was. I had a lot of fun with it, regardless, winning or
Yeah,
losing.
yeah, it was great. I had a blast. It was a good time. Whenever we do stuff like that, like I remember we did the Theomachy. That's always a fun thing to do, and this was real fun. So
hmm
hopefully we can get some more things like this. I think we need to get more player involvement, more people out there actually joining this. Because I asked on our Discord forum if anybody else wanted to join, and didn't get a whole lot of feedback on that. But I had a blast. Had a great time. I thought it was something I definitely want to do again in the future.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun.
Uh,
And I'm gonna say like shout out to like Johnny, who is it? Johnny Splunk. I
mhm.
always want to make sure I get his name right. So Johnny Splunk or Eve Scout, as well as Chester and Smoked Up Princess for like kind of
Mhm.
hosting and running it. And then I think Raiden and Moses and the rest of Stream Fleet kind of doing the behind the scenes work.
Mhm. Yeah, it was great. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. All right. Well, now that we figured out that boys do indeed rule and the girls drool, I think it's about time we start wrapping this up, and we'll talk about some meetups. I know there are some meetups coming up soon, so there actually is. The Portland meetup is on the 28th of July, so that is this weekend. So perhaps they will be watching the ATs there. Hold on, I'm getting some info. Stuff says it's 11:30. Be done already. Shut the fuck up, Stuffs. No one cares about you.
Hey, it looks like Elise might have gotten dropped.
Elise, you're back in.
Yeah, but his mic's not working.
Oh man. Okay, so yeah, so also on the 28th, they're going to have the Toronto monthly meetup. That's on the 28th of July, as well as the Eve Manchester is also on the 28th. Houston is on the 28th, and then we'll have some more next weekend for you. But that is for this weekend. There's a lot of meets happening. If you don't have a Eve meetup in your area, why don't you just go ahead and create one? You just go onto evemeet.net. You click on a little button at the top. Let's see. No, sidebar doesn't work. Create. Right up the top of evemeet.net, just click on create and you can make your own meet, set a location, set a date and a time, and how to contact you. And believe it or not, people will show up. I had a meet, 2 meets already. I failed to do my 3rd annual Fort Hood area meetup, but maybe I'll get around to doing that. So yeah, you just post on there and people will show up. But we'll just start doing some shoutouts. We will go from the bottom to the top, and that will start with Rahne.
I want to say gosh, I have a lot to shout out. Holy cow! So shout
So
out to
much.
Streamfleet and Even T for all that they do with community work, especially Even T taking on the big task of running the production for the Alliance tournament. So mad props to them, as well as mad props to Black Legion and my corp in particular, Origin. People should definitely apply if they want to have fun. All we fly our Munins, so it's pretty easy to do. That's it.
All right, Elise, are you there? Oh boy.
Setting up?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, I did it. Shout out to EVT and the Alliance Tournament people. It is a labor of love, like I said before. The GMs with the refs, the CCPers doing a lot of work behind the scenes, and of course the EVT staff for doing the event. Hopefully, I'm not jinxing it by giving a shout out before the event actually starts, but a lot of work's already gone into it, so it should be fun. Also, a shout out to Doom Chinchilla's Twitter account. You should follow it.
Yeah, or DDoS it. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
advocating that.
You should do something to it, either follow it or block it. One of these two options is the correct choice.
You should just definitely just block it.
All right, and Creecher, how about you, man?
I don't have any specific shout outs, but Alcoholic Cost is always recruiting if you have a fax call. I guess shout out to all of Test Alliance. Please ignore. Very proud of my guys for the UALX fight. Going toe to toe with PL is something we've been looking forward to doing for a long time.
It's okay to lose fights like this every once in a while. It builds character.
Yeah.
You guys.
Oh,
You guys have a lot of character.
look at that. We actually do have a Doom Chinchilla in house. What's up, Doom? All right, Claevyan, how about you, bud?
Yeah, man. Shout out to my test corp that I joined, New Fleet, the brand New Bros, and to our fleet commander, Lord Raven, who's been flying around like a madman trying to keep BL and PL and all the other invaders in check. He wanted to be here, but hey, shout out to that guy.
Yep, Lord Evan's a good dude. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
used to be in Nulli Secunda way back when with ProGod as well. I remember some of his fleets. They were always very interesting and fun. Been around for quite a while.
Yep, and then I think for myself, I just kind of want to shout out to all the people that joined us on Saturday to fly in the Boys versus Girls little event. That was fun. It was a good time. We all had a great time, great laughed. Appreciate you guys for putting that on. I also definitely want to shout out to Murdud. He's been kind of off scene for a little bit, doing things at home. His wife did have the baby, so he's busy. Like, I can't blame the guy for trying to take care of business, although I do see him log in on to EVE Online more often than I'd appreciate if he's not going to be hanging out with me, but I'll forgive him on that.
Doesn't he know that EVE Online is more important?
Yeah, I mean, like, I know from experience, I have 4 children, I know for a fact that you can hold a baby in one hand and operate a mouse in the other hand. This is a fact. This is a truth fact. Yeah, but hopefully he'll be back next week to maybe alleviate some of the back end stress that I've been having to deal with trying to wrangle all you crazy guests here. But it's fun. But so yeah, from myself, Claevyan, Creecher, Elise Randolph, and Rahne, and of course the one and the only Craig. We thank Craig so much for recording this show. Without him, I don't know what I would do. So we appreciate you, and we would love to check you out next week.